So now what we're going to do is pick back up and we're going to do the activity-based costing method example. So in this particular part, if you're following along with the demonstration, this is the very last example at the bottom, okay? So we're given this information. It says the total factory overhead for Bardot Marine Company is budgeted for the year at $600,000 divided into 4 activities. So they have fabrication at 204,000, assembly at 105, setup at 156, and inspection at 135. Now, Bardot Marine manufactures 2 different types of boats, as we've seen in prior examples, so we're just carrying it forward. They manufacture the speedboat and the base boat. So they're giving us all of the information or the activity-based usage for each of the products and all of this good stuff in this table. Right? And so the last part that we really need from here is it says each product is budgeted for 250 units of production for the year. Okay, so the first part in solving for this particular problem is we need to figure out what is the activity rate. Okay, we need to know the activity rate for each of the activities that we have. So for instance, fabrication, assembly, setup, and inspection. We already have the overall totals here, but again, we need so here's all of the totals, right? But what we need to know is what is the rate per activity, okay? Given our all of our factory overhead. All right, so with that, we're going to take the first one, which is fabrication, right? So I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, fabrication. So it tells us that fabrication, the factory overhead for that particular activity is 204,000, right? And they'll figure out the fabrication activity rate or the rate per activity base is we're going to divide the factory overhead amount divided by the total usage, right? So that would be 3,000 direct labor hours, all right? So once I did that calculation, if I do 204,000 divided by 3,000 direct labor hours, I should come up with an amount of $68 per hour, per direct labor hour. Then I'm going to do the same thing for the assembly. Okay. The assembly, it tells us that it's 105, so we're going to come up with the rate. It's going to be 105,000 divided by the rate, the total hours, which is 3,000. Oops, that's not right. Divided by 3,000 direct labor hours. And so once I do that calculation, I come up with $35 per direct labor hour. Then I'm going to do the same thing for setup. So our setup cost tells us it's 156,000, and then we're going to divide that by the number of setups, total setups, which is 400 setups. And that will give us, so once I do 156,000 divided by 400 setups, it is $390 per setup. All right, last but not least, I'm gonna do the same thing for inspection, all right? So our total inspection amount is this 135,000, and then we're gonna divide that by our total inspections, which is 1,500. And so once I did that calculation, divided by 1,500, that one comes out to $90 per inspection. Okay, so we have our rates. And so now what we're gonna do is apply those rates to each of our products, right? We have the speedboat and the base boat. So I'm gonna, for a second, I am gonna just scroll down because in this part of the question is asking you to determine the activity rate for each activity. And that's what we've done. For Section A, that's exactly what we've done. So if you want, you can go through and put that into this. So fabrication was $68. So I would here do $68. My next one was 35, then 390, 35 here, and then 390 for setups. And then last but not least, for inspection, we had $90, right? Okay. All right, so B asks us to determine the activity factory overhead rate per unit for each product. All right, so we can go at this a couple of different ways. So I think it would be wise to put it in this table so you can maybe see it all yourself. So that's what I'm going to do. This table is specifically for the speedboat. So that's what I'm going to go in and fill out this table. And then once we get our information, then we can, this factory overhead per unit is the same thing that would go here, okay? All right, so the first column, in this column, it's asking us what is the activity-based usage, right? Now, that information is provided to us in this table, right? So here is our usage. For the speedboat, in each of the departments, it's $2,000 for the fabrication, $1,300 for setups, and $1,100 for inspection. And so we're gonna take all of that information and put it in our table, okay? So I am going, maybe you can scroll back and forth or you can write it down, but I have another screen, so I'm gonna put it there, okay? So I'm gonna scroll down here and then I'm gonna put it in. So for my, just for my speedboat, it is $2,000. And then for the drop down button, you should try, make sure you put direct labor hour. For assembly, it's $1,000. And then again, when you are allowed to click the drop down button, you should do direct labor hours. For setups, we said it was $300. And so make sure you do setups. And then inspections, it is $1,100. And that is inspections. Okay. All right. So then next we're going to fill in all of our rates. So the rates are what we've kind of looked at or alluded to before. So I believe the first one was $68. And this is going to be like per direct labor hour, I believe, so forth and so on. So how am I getting these numbers? Again, it comes from this information, which we've already calculated in this section, right? So I'm going to put 35, 390, and 90. So draw 35, 390, and 90, right? So all of them correspond with each of the ones that we talked about. So inspection, right? The rate, the activity rate that we figured out is here, all of these rates. And now, and so you're going to click the drop down button and make sure you select the one that corresponds with it. So for instance, assembly should have direct labor hour. This one should have per setup, and then so forth and so on, inspection. Okay, now in this last column, we are capturing the activity costs. And the way you do that is I would just tell you to follow along with this formula as they have it listed here. So you're going to take the usage, which is maybe 2,000 times, right, times the $68 per direct labor hour, and that's how you would get the activity cost. For that, I'm going to go through the first few, and then I'm going to encourage you guys to pause it, and maybe instead of me going through all of it, I'm going to pause it, and then hopefully you guys work through the example, and then we're going to come back and see if we came up with the same answer, right? So for the first one, I'll do with you. So you're going to take this 2,000 direct labor hours for fabrication and multiply it times the $68 per direct labor hour, and you should get $136,000. Okay. All right. So what I encourage you guys to do, pause it. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to work through the rest of this so I don't bore you guys to death. I am also going to do the same thing for the bass boat. I'm going to fill all of this information in, and then when you guys come back or when you finish doing your set, we're going to compare answers and kind of talk through this, okay? So that's what we are doing right now. Pause it, work on it, and let's go. Welcome back. So hopefully you had a chance to work through this yourself. This is all of the information. While it is a little bit messy, this is my calculation on what I came up with. Some of the things that we didn't get a chance to talk through before we went on break was we did a calculation for each of the activities. So for fabrication, assembly, setup, and inspection. And so then at the very end, we came up with the total. And when we did the total, all we did here was add up all of these numbers, right? And so once you add up the 136,000, 35,000, 117,000, and 99,000, you come up with a grand total of 387,000. Now the budgeted items represent how many units that they expect to produce in 1 year. And so it told us that they expected to produce 250 of the speedboats and 250 of the bass boats, right? So once I plug that in, the way we get the factory overhead per unit is we take the total, which is a 387,000, and divided by the budgeted items, which is 250 units, and that's how we get our factory overhead per unit. Okay, so I am going to scroll up and show you exactly how that's how I plugged in. All right, and so snap that, pause that. And then I did the same thing for the bass boats. I went through and entered all of the activity-based usage. Remember that all comes from here. So I'm gonna scroll up for a second. All of that information is coming from here, right? Specifically for the bass boats. So you have 1,000, 2,000, 100, and 400 for each of the departments. Right? And then you have all of your rates. Remember, once you calculate your rates, the rates never change from there. Okay, so then I scroll down and then I entered all of that information into this table and did my calculation very similar to what I did for the speedboats. Once I added everything up, it came out to 213,000. Again, the budgeted items was 250. And so once I did that calculation, which is 213,000 divided by 250 units, I came up with a total of $852 per factory overhead. Okay, so hopefully that made sense to you guys. What I want to finish off this talking about is make sure you get a chance to look through ABC, or activity-based costing in a service business. So there's a really interesting thing to try to capture, but again, most of our time will be spent looking at manufacturing businesses, but here's a good example of looking at a service business, more specifically a hospital, okay?